Hey everybody, happy Friday. Today is a very special video. I'm going to show you something just so cool that I've discovered within Clip Studio. On my screen right now, I've got a picture that I painted of the dream girl's hair, and you can see it's just the hair. It's rainbow hair, it's all clumpy, and it's nothing but hair. And it looks pretty complicated, doesn't it? It looks pretty detailed. Well, what if I told you that I drew this picture in about 5 seconds? Well, that would be both true and false, and I can explain more about it. So what I want to do is I want to show you what I'm talking about here. Now, a couple of, maybe about a month ago or so, I did a video about the brush system within Clip Studio. At the time, it was still called Manga Studio. And I showed you how you can create what's called a ribbon brush to create like a vine, a sort of organic vine shape. And because Manga Studio, Clip Studio allows you to save color information within the brushes, you can make some really amazing brushes that you can then reuse. And because of the fact that the ribbon system means that it's going to draw the image that you have saved as a brush based on the direction that you're dragging the pen, I started to think about other things that may not immediately jump to mind that I might be able to do with the brush system. And of course, the most time-consuming aspect of Dreamside is actually the dream girl's rainbow hair. It takes me on average about 4 to 7 hours for every drawing of just the hair of the dream girl within Dreamside. And in fact, it's probably about I don't know, I'd say probably in book 1 we have roughly about 50 to maybe 60 drawings of the dream girl, so I'll let you do the math. So I was thinking, well, what if there was a way to use the brush system to do the dream girl's rainbow hair? Well, what I've got here is a picture that is, this is an image of her hair that I drew from scratch. Okay, so it shows roughly what the hair is supposed to look like, and you can see it's this mostly clumpy but still very morphable design. The shape changes, it evolves, and it's different in one picture than it was just in the picture on the last panel. Okay, so there's so much transformation that occurs with the hair, and it doesn't seem practical. So I thought, you know, I've been thinking about ways to speed this process up that involve working in CG, you know, going into a program like Maya and trying to draw something that can be, you know, animated and posed out and rendered that way. I mean, this is just how much time this hair takes me, that it was worth it for me to research some ways to speed up the process. So what I did was I studied this, and then I began to think about how I would create brushes. And so my first thought was, well, and even in this image you can see the vine, if the vine kind of looks like a strand of hair, I thought, well, what if I just made a hair strand brush? And so I did that, and this was the closest result I could get to looking like her hair. So you can see here, what I actually have here are, I believe, 2 different types of brushes. I have a single strand, which you can see right here. Okay, that's one brush that's just like the vine. And then I have these other clumps that you'll see are repeated, all right? And that was one of the biggest problems with this. It was the repetition. It didn't look natural. It looks like this is put together by a computer, okay? And also you'll notice that it's missing something else. It's missing shadows. It's missing shadows, and it has an inconsistent line quality that is not well designed. I like to be very decorative with the way that I use lines, so it's important that I have as much control over that as possible. So then I started to think, well, what if I start combining strands together into more sizable clumps? And that resulted in this. So this was actually, I thought, a substantial improvement. What I've got here, probably about 5 different brushes that are laid on top of each other. Okay, you can see I still got like the single strand right here. Here's another strand. And then there is actually a top piece, and there is another piece for the side here. And then I've got some more brushes that are used to get the hair on the opposite side of the head. Because, of course, if we're going to draw the head at different angles, then any sort of hairbrush would, in order to save time, it would have to work for different angles. Okay, so I was getting happier with this, but you can see I still have the problem where the line weight is sort of inconsistent. It doesn't have shadows. And so I thought, if I'm doing these clumps, I may as well try painting shadows in. And so I looked at this and I refined it, and this is the next result. Okay, so now I think I was really getting somewhere. You can see that the shapes are really starting to look correct for her design. It's starting to look consistent with the other drawings. So what I've got here now is probably about 6 different brushes. I've got a top piece, a side piece, and I have an extra back piece. And then I have a few individual strands, and I have some brushes for the opposite side of the head. Okay, and what I did was I actually painted the shadows directly into the brush. And then I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to paint the shadows into the brush, what about different lighting systems? What if I have lighting where the direct light is coming from below the character and I need to change the position of the shadows? I realized that I was going to have to create not only a bunch of different brushes for all these different sections of the hair, but also with different lighting, so that it could be used for different scenes. And I would have basically I want to minimize the amount of redrawing and editing that I had to do. Get it as far as I can so that I have a good foundation, and then I can edit as needed. All right, so with a little bit more fine tuning and refining, eventually I ended up with this. So this is a piece of hair here that I think looks just about as good as if I drew it from scratch. I think I really achieved the result that I was looking for here. And what you don't know looking at this is that this is made up of about the same number of brushes. There's probably about 5 brushes in here. And of course I have variations for shadows in different positions. Now what you may notice is that the line quality is more consistent within the hair, but now of course I left the edges kind of open, and that's so that I can apply a different line thickness to the main silhouette of the hair, and that way I can blend it in with the drawing of the body, as needed on a scene-by-scene basis. So I'm just going to show you how this works within Clip Studio. So what I've got here on the screen is the overhead view. This is I believe this is actually a side piece, and you can see that the lighting is actually coming from below. The shadows are on the top side. So I'm just going to draw it for you. So here are some of my hair brushes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the top piece, and I'm just going to draw these on here. Okay. Whoops, that's a little big. Okay, so you can see that as I draw it, it follows the direction of the brush. So if I curve it or I do a sharp angle, it's going to change the form of the hair. Now you can see that if I do this too sharply, I start getting some corruption within the shape. And this doesn't work very well. But of course, I can go in here and paint over this. I can edit this as needed, and I'm probably still going to save some time in the process. Okay, so this is the top piece, so I'll typically put that down like that. Let me bring in the side piece. Okay, and the side piece typically draws right around here or so. And then I've got a piece for the bottom. And we'll put that in, let's say right around there. Maybe here. Sometimes I have to redraw it a few times before I get the shape just right. All right, and then, provided the character is here, I'll basically cut out this area, and then I'm sure you can imagine seeing her face sitting in here. And it is set to repeat because I can't figure out how to turn it off. So I just delete this section, and there you go. Looks like I got a little bit here. Okay, so this is a great foundation, and this is going to ultimately save me a great deal of time. So what I'm hoping is that this is going to give you some sort of creative ideas for yourself, and I would just love to see what you come up with to do with this brush system. It's incredibly powerful. I highly recommend you take advantage of these amazing tools. Obviously, the brush system is not going to work for everything. The more custom you need something to be designed, I think the less applicable the brush system is going to be for it. So if you have something that's very decorative and is very it's very important for you to get specific shapes, and the brush system may not really help you that much with it. But for situations like this with the Dream Girl's hair, which was taking me so long to draw, this is now cutting down on the production time. But I do, of course, still have plenty of drawings with her where I draw it from scratch, and even though I get what I think is a pretty decent result here, I still will need to draw and paint over this a little bit. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this extra special look at one of the very cool features of Dreamside's production, and I hope that if you are an artist and you are working with Clip Studio, that you will try this out and, of course, share with me the results that you come up with. I'm always anxious to see the results that you guys do, so please do share in the links below. You can always email me at david@dmcumbo.com, or you can go to my contact page at dmcumbo.com and send me a message that way. I do ask that you do not send me any attachments, but I will always look at links, and I do look at everything you send me. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we will see you next time.